Hey, what's going on, my good people? It's of course Six Paths Dunga back with another video. And man, let me just start off saying how good I thought chapter 23 was. I actually thought it was one of the best Two Blue Vortex chapters we got throughout this whole Sunagakure arc. And that includes Sarada giving Ryu belt. That doesn't take away from anything because I really like Sarada versus Ryu. Hands down one of the best fights in the series, but this chapter was on a completely different level. And I'm so mad I couldn't live stream with you guys, but you all know why. Just for precautionary purposes, that's it. The live streams will be back whenever I feel comfortable to start streaming again. I promise it won't be too long. But anyway, I'm pretty sure you all can guess, but the reason I'm so high on this chapter was because of Kawaki arriving and saving Boruto from his inevitable death. I said before the chapter began that I didn't really see Kawaki joining in the battle. I was dead wrong. And I'm happy I'm wrong, by the way. Well, the main reason I was so wrong was because I didn't know certain things about prescience that I now know because of this chapter. But we'll get more into prescience later on in another video. For this one, I absolutely need to talk about Kawaki, because what just happened I believe is a huge turning point for not only Kawaki's character, but the entire story as a whole. So before we get into it, let me just say I do write as well as edit all my videos, and they do take quite a while, I'm not gonna lie. And I try to get out a good number of these videos out to you guys a week. So if you could just leave a quick like, that would mean so much for me. I really do appreciate it. We're gonna be going really hard until chapter 24 drops. Two Blue Vortex is as popular as ever right now, so it's a good time for other content creators to grow and really make a name for themselves. So if you want to be a part of that little journey we got going on, go ahead and subscribe. But other than that, please enjoy the video. So chapter 23 revealed Kawaki's new power in the craziest way possible. We haven't seen him since chapter 18, so this would have marked the 5th chapter without Kawaki in it, which was kind of unusual in and of itself, so you just knew Ikimoto was cooking up something crazy. I said if somehow we do see Kawaki, this would be the route that Ikimoto takes. He would just shove him into the action without showing us him getting his limiters removed. All that will be taken care of after the fact. This creates a sense of shock value for the audience, and it just makes the reveal that much better. So honestly, I love it. In the reveal itself, I was not expecting something so gruesome. Definitely sets the tone as to how Kawaki fights, and probably will be fighting from now on. Like just shoving a chakra rod into Jura's skull, that's something Kawaki would do, and it fits his character quite perfectly. So he pulls up in a very Boruto-esque fashion, and he starts to take on Jura, immediately using what seems to be Sukuna Hikona to shrink and restore himself to dodge Jura's attack. He then launches a barrage of chakra rods into Jura's body, which of course isn't really affecting him all that much. I mean, granted, if Jura's gonna survive one of these rods being lodged into his skull, without much reaction at all I might add, then this isn't doing anything to him, I assure you. Then shortly after, he fires a Biju bomb at him. Mind you, since the distance between them isn't all that much, he's gonna have to have a faster reaction to completely dodge the attack, in which Kawaki did. Jura also stated that the weakness of his Biju bombs was the load up itself, so perhaps Kawaki was able to perceive it before he even fired it, basically giving him a sense of precognition. So take that what you will, but nonetheless, it's still a very impressive show of events from Kawaki, who previously wasn't even able to follow Jura's movements at all. And if you really pay attention here, he was able to actually hit Jura with the rods, the same rods that Hidari and Boruto was able to perceive and dodge very easily. It could be that Jura purposely tanked the attack because he knew it posed no clear threat to him, but at the same time, he clearly tried to at least brace himself for the attack. When we look at it like that, you can say he intended to move out the way first, but the speed at which the rods traveled increased significantly, causing Jura, who should have the same, if not better awareness and perception than the likes of Hidari, to get hit. You could also say distance played a factor, but the distance is very similar to when Boruto and Kawaki had their little scuffle, and he still was more than able to react to it. So judging from this initial encounter right here, it's looking like the speed at which he can launch his rods increased, as well as his base movement speed and perception. Jura even said himself that he can sense that Kawaki's power is exponentially greater than before. Let's analyze this a little bit more so we can see how we actually got here. Kachin Koji doesn't know that Boruto did it, but this new updated outcome is all thanks to Boruto and Kawaki's conversation at the top of the Hokage monument. Boruto told Kawaki directly that things have gotten worse with his karma powers. He can't even activate it without getting the feeling of his body being taken over. This is basically letting Kawaki know that Boruto is still as much of a threat now than he was 3 years ago when he left the village. If not, maybe even more of a threat now, because it's actually easier for Momoshiki to take over Boruto's body. And Kawaki knows right now he absolutely cannot contend with Boruto in all the strength that he acquired throughout the time skip. So him being aware of his own weakness, he knows in order for him to be able to do what he vowed to do, he will 100% need to get stronger. He already knew this without Boruto telling him, but by the time he did, he already made up his mind. Because now it's not only Boruto and Code that he gotta worry about. With the emergence of the Shinju, that presents a new problem that must be dealt with. Boruto stating that he can't deal with Jura alone made Kawaki aware of just how far behind he actually is. We all know how strong Kawaki's resolve is. To keep Naruto safe and to kill the Otsutsuki and anyone else that poses a threat to his father, he will do anything it takes to eliminate that threat, even if it means killing his little brother. That's just how he is and always will be. This way of thinking is what will eventually drive him into deciding to end the age of Shinobi. Kawaki is a man of extremes. He doesn't do things halfway. If he decides to do something, he's gonna commit because he feels like he's the only one capable of doing quote unquote what really needs to be done for any real change. When we look at what Boruto told Kawaki, that for either situation, for when they need to take down Jura or him killing Boruto, he needs to get a lot stronger, he stated that this would be a conclusion that Kawaki would have reached on his own sooner or later. So since quicker is better, he's just gonna tell him now. This is the decision that would end up saving Boruto's life in the end. But as it stands, Kawaki would have found out that Amato was hiding his true power from him even without Boruto telling him. He would have realized that he couldn't achieve his goals the way he is right now. And like I said, Kawaki would do anything if it meant gaining the power to achieve his goals. This information was likely found out because of Kashin Koji, but he didn't expect him to relay this information to Kawaki. Boruto stated that Amato needs his karma for his own selfish purposes, therefore he needs him alive at all costs. So he knew he would be able to use this advantage to get Amato to awaken his true power. Actually, Amato and Kawaki both have advantages over each other. Amato needed Kawaki to resurrect his daughter. Kawaki was his last hope, so he can't allow him to die. And Kawaki needed Amato to answer for his powerlessness, that being one of Kawaki's biggest fears. Prior to Kawaki getting the Karma Seal back, he was a complete shell of himself. Not only physically, but mentally. It was like a piece of him was missing. Deep down inside, he knew he needed the Karma, because without it, he knew he couldn't beat the likes of Momoshiki or Code. He just couldn't match their overwhelming Otsutsuki power. While it seemed like Amato was giving Kawaki a choice to regain his karma, he actually already reconstructed it inside of him. Besides his own selfish reasons to give Kawaki the karma, he knew his powerlessness was irritating him. He wanted to be able to protect Naruto, so he knew Kawaki would hunger for more power. He just needed to motivate Kawaki to want it himself. And that's exactly what happened. He used Code and Momoshiki as a final push for Kawaki to awaken his power. But the root of that power awakening was just the desire to protect Naruto. Kawaki is now in the same circumstance he was back then, but this time, the power required is unlike anything we ever seen. He can't deal with the Shinju, Boruto, or even Code the same way he did before. This time, with Kawaki already coming to terms that he needs the Karma's power, he went straight to Amato to get this power. Because if anyone was capable of granting him the power, it was him. Like I said before, they both had advantages over each other, but Kawaki's resolve was much stronger than Amato's. This is one of the reasons why they decided to go Kawaki's way first. I mean, it does make sense though. Amato already stated that he didn't want to bring his daughter back into a world that was gonna end anyway. And plus, Kawaki would die anyway if the Shinju aren't dealt with. So it makes sense that you strengthen Kawaki as much as possible to give you a chance at seeing your daughter and you guys living happily together more likely. Boruto told Kawaki that he put his limiters on his offensive capabilities, but his defense and regenerative abilities are beyond max levels. Meaning because his offense was limited, this allowed him to put more into his defense. Amato went on to say that his defense was beyond the max, thus giving him near immortal levels of defensive and recuperation power. And Kawaki is saying, you know what? F that. basically flip all those stats to offense. So basically, all that near immortal level of defense is directed to offense, taking his offensive capabilities to an entirely different level. But now, if Jura is still somehow more powerful than Kawaki, he will die. He doesn't have the necessary defense anymore to counter Jura's immense power, meaning the beating that Boruto just took. If that same beating was directed to Kawaki, it wouldn't be crazy to say he just died from that. Think of it like this. Before he got his limiters removed, Kawaki's offense was weaker than base Boruto. It was probably weaker than no limit code, but his defense was greater than both of them combined. But now it's completely flipped. His defense is what's limited right now, with his offense being beyond max capability. So let's say instead of his offense, his defense is worse than Code's and much worse than base Boruto's offensive ability. Now compare Jura to the likes of Code. The difference is night and day, right? So essentially, if Kawaki is not considerably stronger than Jura, he should be knocked unconscious or die in a couple of full power blows. So that's the drawback of having that much power. You literally cannot get hit or you're just gonna die. But in return, you gain power that can match or even surpass that of Prime Isshiki. I believe right now Kawaki has the power to force Jura into submission. I 100% believe that. In next chapter you're gonna see, Kawaki is unlike anything we ever seen, with power succeeding even that of the Isshiki that fought Naruto. Look at how he was moving versus Jura in base. Next chapter, Kawaki will battle with his karma, and maybe Boruto joins in the fight. Even with that, I think that will cause Jura to finally go all out, unlike from when he was fighting Boruto. But when Kawaki activates the karma second state, we can see something new. That's when I think Kawaki will have a clear advantage over Jura. That's when I feel like he might be forced to retreat until later time. And it could be the start of us seeing Jura possibly doing something to gain more strength himself. So for what it's worth, because of Kawaki telling Amato to make him stronger beyond all limits and his opening act against Jura, I think he's strong enough to get put at the top of the verse with Jura. Everything excluding Shibai, of course. We're not talking about Shibai. And one more thing before I go, just to clarify. When Kawaki told Amato to make him stronger beyond all limits, that could imply that Amato actually did what Kawaki told him to do. Make him stronger beyond all limits. So I don't know what that could mean for his defense. We already know what his offense is going to look like. It could mean his defense is not as bad as we think it is, but I still don't think his defense and offense are at the same level. He definitely has more offensive ability now. But for us to get the answer to that, we probably have to wait until next chapter. Chapter 24 is most likely going to start off with a mini flashback of Amato explaining to Kawaki as to how powerful he is right now, as well as things that he needs to be aware of with his new power. But that's really it. The new Kawaki is here, and I couldn't be any more excited to make this video and show you just how significant this is to the story. But anyway, of course, if you enjoyed this video and wouldn't mind seeing more like this in the near future, then please go ahead and like the video, comment, subscribe, and turn on them post notifications so you don't miss another upload like this or when I go live for chapter spoilers. And until my next one, I'll see you boys and girls later. And I'm out. Peace.